Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Just Fish Outdoors Live. Just Fish Outdoors Live is on YouTube every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. with a different show, updates, tips, techniques, and hopefully we're going to teach you the art of and science of fishology. So stick around for the next several minutes. We're going to talk about what's going on around some of the places and going to give you some tips and hopefully some show you some techniques that will hopefully help you put more fish in your basket this year. And to start off with, we're going to talk to one of the local striper hybrid guides, Dave Clark of Fish on Guide Service, and he's going to tell us what he's been up to in the last few days and tell us how the fishing's been going.
Hello, it's David Clark. Doing my weekly report for the LER Jstfish Outdoors webcast. Fish on Guide Service. Fish on Guide Service. This past week I've been mainly
Hey guys, this is Chris. Hey guys, this is Chris coming to you from the Burning Stump Lodge at Lake Fork, Texas. Phone number is 903-850-1189. I'm out in my garage right now trying to get geared up, chase some of these wild bass on Lake Fork. Right now our water temperatures are hovering from the mid to upper 60s. The water level is about a foot low. Here lately, just want to give you a few insights on how I've been catching a few here lately. Early in the mornings, when it's still before the sun comes out, I've been really trying to rip a rattle trap through the grass. They tend to be just crushing that when you rip it out of that grass. I've been sticking with kind of a chrome blue back. I'm sure a variety of colors would work. Other baits early in the mornings have been the swim jig, a fluke. You can also get on top water and use a spook and a buzz bait. Seems to been working pretty good. Later in the day when the sun comes out, I move on out to about 18 to 20 foot. I've been using a miniature Carolina rig. I've been using about a ½ ounce weight, just really working it slow in the timber. And that's where I've had most of my luck. I have talked to a friend of mine, a guide here on the lake named David Morris. He said he's been catching a lot offshore structure using his graphs, finding those fish on those humps and long points. And he been using Alabama rig, big swim bait, underspin, and also a drop shot. So that's another option for you later in the day when the sun comes up. Now, if the sun doesn't come out, you could stay up shallow all day in that grass and do pretty well. So we're in kind of the typical fall pattern right now, and really, fishing's been pretty decent here lately. Wind's been blowing a little bit, but a lot of times that's a good thing. So, like I said, if you ever need anything, just give us a call to Burning Stump Lodge. Phone number is 903-850-1189. And Ella, tell them how big a fish you catch. That's right. That's my daughter. She might lie a little bit. So thank you.
Well, that wasn't Dave Clark with Fish on Guide Service. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties here this evening, but hey, you know, that's live. That's live for you. So every once in a while, you know, it doesn't go exactly how we want it to. But that was Chris Haas down at Lake Fork. And folks, if you ever get the opportunity to go down and fish Lake Fork, many of you know that is just my most favorite lake in the world to fish. I love to hog hunt, and you know, Lake Fork down in East Texas has got a lot of fish. You know, over 6, 7, 8 pounds in it, and I just love to do that in the colder winter months. Is go down there and spend time chasing those big fish. And you know, that's really what I concentrate on when I travel around and do my seminars on nighttime big bass strategies. is I have a lot of experience and have been very fortunate to catch multiple fish over 10 pounds, and I try to share those secrets and those tips, and also that knowledge that I've spent I've got close to 30 years down there on that lake, and I try to share some of that whenever I can. So it's just a wonderful place to stay down there at the Burning Stump Lodge. Chris does a really fine job, and I highly recommend if you're down in that area to look the Burning Stump up and call Chris, and he'll sure fix you up. Hopefully we got Dave's report keyed up properly now, and we'll jump out there and see what Dave has to say.
Hello, it's David Clark doing my weekly report for the L. York's Just Fish Outdoors webcast, Fish on Guide service. This past week I've been mainly over on Sooner Lake. It's been going real good. I had 2 or 3 trips, and then I had one rescheduled, but we rescheduled it because of the wind. You get over on Sooner Lake, that wind gets over 20 miles an hour. It's just too tough to be out there hardly, unless you got somebody really mad at them, wanting to stay on them pretty good. And then we rescheduled another one. The customer had a personal issue. Anyway, it's been going pretty good. We've been catching some real nice fish. The blues are starting to show up, like I said last week. Water temperatures around 61, 62 degrees. We're still catching them out in the main lake. On smaller the shad, the better. You got to put up with the white perch. And once you find the white perch, the hybrid stripers seem to be around them, so do the catfish. And then Paul was telling me the other day that he even uses the white perch cut up and catches fish on those cut bait. Once he runs out of bait, if he gets into a bunch of white perch, he uses those. Anyway. And then Keystone Lake is still real muddy. Last time I was out there, a guy called me this afternoon, wanted to know about it. As far as I know, it's still real muddy. Maybe up around Salt Creek, maybe clearing up, but I haven't seen any reports from anybody at all. Skytook Lake, the crappie's still around 15, 25 feet. Around brush piles, the water temperature there is 64, 65 degrees. It's pretty clear. And it's the hybrid striper fishing isn't going very good up there. A couple reports that I got from there. The white perch are in there real thick now. That may be where you gotta, if it's anything like Center, you gotta find the white perch, and then the hybrid stripers around them. But the reports I'm getting is that the small hybrid stripers are mixed in with the white perch. Oologah Lake, I didn't get any reports from Oologah Lake. Anyway, this is David Clark, Fish on Guide Service. You can contact me if you got any questions, 918-724-6786, or you can message me on my Facebook page, Fish on Guide Service, on my website, fishonok.com. Fish on.
Thanks, Dave, for that report. Once again, folks, he specializes in hybrids and stripers, and he also does the spoonbill fishing in northeast Oklahoma that really draws a lot of attention nationwide as well as worldwide. People come in from all over the place to snag those spoonbill, and that's kind of a specialty of his as well. So if you're looking to add one of those to your list of accomplishments, be sure to look up Dave Clark, Fish on Guide Service, and he'll help you out as to what you need, when the time you need to come, everything. He's well accomplished at that. And he'll certainly help you with trying to catch one of those fish. And like I said before, he's really good at it. So he's quite accomplished at it. So be sure you look him up, and he'll put you on those fish. Now that we've had the 2 reports, I've got some emails and some requests to help some folks out with winterizing their boat. And what I thought we'd do is we'd go through some pointers and tips on things you need to do this fall or this early winter, so next spring when you get ready to pull your boat out and put it in service, you won't have near as many issues to deal with, and it will really make things go a lot smoother. I've been out crappie fishing recently, and I'll throw some tips and some of my favorite crappie baits out there as well that I've been using, and hopefully that'll help some people put some more fish in their basket as well. Like I said, folks, this is the time of year that some folks have put away their summer gear and they're starting to winterize their boat, motor, and trailers. So in tonight's show, we'll throw some helpful steps out there that hopefully will help folks out. And if you spend some time winterizing your boat, taking some of these steps, it will make the chore of getting your boat ready for spring a whole lot less painful. Item one, when you get ready to put your boat away, perform a walk-around inspection of your boat, motor, and trailer. Sometimes this can really be helpful, as well as you'll see things that perhaps you didn't even know that you needed to fix. So that's the first thing that we'll talk about a little briefly. Just walk around and perform just a visual inspection. Crawl underneath your trailer, look for loose bolts or broken bolts, especially on the suspension. If you've got trailer brakes, check your fluids and your master cylinders. Make sure everything's functional and as it should be. Check for broken wells, tire wear, bunk board condition. Those bunks can really deplete in a quick succession, so look for that as well. You also want to look for any sign of damage, missing trailer pieces, overall condition of your boat, motor, and trailer. It's very, very important that helps you generate that list of things that you need to do to get ready for that next spring when the fishing starts again. So, that's item number one. Item number two is clean the inside and outside of your rig. Sometimes that'll help with your visual inspection as well. And, plus when you get ready to use it next spring, you're ready to go. Inspect or replace your fuel filters, check your spark plugs. And folks, every year replace that water pump. It's a fairly inexpensive thing to do. And it can really, enhance the life of your outboard by making sure that water pump is always really in good shape. Another thing we'll talk about briefly is check and lubricate, all your steering components, your throttle cables, your shift cables. Make sure everything works smoothly. Make sure all your connections are tight. If you've got, like many of the boats nowadays, if you have hydraulic steering systems, check the fluid levels in there, check for leaks, check for cracked hoses, check all your connections, make sure all your connections are good. Just do an overall check of your control systems, period, because you sure don't want that to happen to you when you're out in the middle of the lake somewhere and break a cable or you have no steering fluid or something of that magnitude. Next thing we'll talk about is look at your fuel condition, how much fuel you have in your boat. I really am not a proponent for storing boats with a lot of fuel in them. I prefer to have a much close to empty tank, and then maybe to have a little fuel stabilizer in it before it's stored. Especially if you're burning fuel that's got ethanol in it. Ethanol is really bad about drawing moisture, and it can really cause havoc on your outboard. And plus today's gasoline with ethanol in it breaks down pretty quickly. So you might think about that, pulling the fuel out of it, put it in your lawnmowers or whatever else that you're running around the house or whatever else you're doing in the wintertime with it. Put it in your put it in your side-by-sides or your four-wheelers or whatever, and get that fuel out of your boat. Another really important tip I'll throw out is remove your big prop on your motor, your big outboard. check for fishing line that may be wrapped up around your prop. That fishing line over the course of time can really cut into that oil seal that's on the prop shaft and really cause you a problem, and that's how water can get into that lower unit and really run up a pretty good sized bill on you. So it's fairly easy to do. Just like I said, remove the prop, check that prop and that shaft for fishing line. If there's anything there, remove it, check that shaft, make sure that shaft's not been leaking oil on you from the lower unit. Check your prop shaft, make sure it's not bent. Then you can, once you've done all that, you can lube your prop shaft, put the prop back on there, and then retorque the prop nut to whatever your factory specs are. If you're storing your boat outside, I would really suggest taking the prop off and storing it inside somewhere safe, or purchasing a prop lock that will at least slow the thieves down, because some of the props that we're running nowadays are way in excess of $500 to cost to replace. So you definitely don't want those walking away if you can keep from it. The next thing we'll talk about is check all your electrics and electronics, meaning your fish finders, your GPSs, things like that. I strongly suggest removing those and storing those inside. Once again, some of these units can be fairly expensive, and you just don't want them outside all winter long if there's any way to keep from it. So remove those things, take them inside and store them. Check your bilge, check your live wells. If you have a VHF radio, check that. Check to make sure all your lights on your trailer are functional, all the lights in your boat are functional, as well as your nighttime or evening navigation lights. Check all those, make sure they're operational. Make sure that you're complying with your local laws for your required safety equipment. Check your horn, make sure it's functional. Check your fire extinguisher, make sure it's not below what it should be, and you may need to replace that for the next year. Check overall conditions of your life jacket, if required, your throwable device, ropes, things like that. Just do an overall check. And like I said, that will really help you out come next spring, because you won't necessarily have to tend to all that stuff and be on the water and have one of those guys with a shiny little badge remind you of what you don't have in your boat that you're required to have. And we all need to kind of stick away from that as well. Next thing is, if you have a trolling motor on your boat, do the same thing with the prop on your trolling motor that you did with the big prop on your outboard. Remove it, check for line that got wrapped around it, make sure it's working properly. Test the entire range of the foot pedal if it's a foot pedal operated, as well as check all your speeds and your directional controls. Also remove the prop, like I said, and check for fishing line. Don't forget to do that, because that can really mess you up, as well as can get into a situation where your trolling motor can draw more amps than what it's supposed to, and really make you a pretty good size repair bill there as well. The next thing is check the prop for your trolling motor. Make sure it's in good shape. If it's got a lot of dents, scratches, cracks, chips out of it, it'd be a really good idea to replace that at this time. That way you don't have to worry about it for next spring. Once all that's done, retighten the prop nut to factory specs again. One of the really important things that I strongly recommend is change your lower unit gear case oil. Now's the time to do that. Pull those out and drain that old oil out. See if there's any water in that oil. If there's water in that oil, then you may want to talk to your service guy about checking that lower shaft seal that we talked about earlier behind the prop, and it's fairly easy to do. You know, if you're not comfortable do it, you know, don't have a problem with taking it to the maintenance guy this time of year, and usually the waiting period for this time of year is usually pretty slow, pretty low, so you can get it in and get it out usually pretty quick. You know, that's really important, because you don't want to get stuck with a $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 low unit repair bill. You know, we all need to avoid that. The next thing I think would be just basically, you know, paying careful attention to fuel lines. Really do a close inspection of your fuel lines. You know, those fuel lines can crack. They can get loose around the clamps. If you have a pump up bubble on your gas system, that bubble can sometimes weather crack and cause you to lose the pressure or the vacuum on your gas line, and cause your motor to run erratic when you're out on the lake. So really pay attention to those gas lines. If you need to replace them, you know, tighten your hose clamps. And once again, if those are showing signs of wear, just go ahead and replace them. It's a fairly cost-effective thing to do. You know, if the lines are brittle, once again, you know, hard to the touch, then they definitely should be replaced. Same thing with people that are still running two-cycle outboards. You know, check your oil lines, paying careful attention to tighten the hose clamps, and basically just do an inspection like I noted above. You know, if you're seeing any brittleness, if you're seeing any cracked, weather's cracked, just go ahead and replace it, because it is a fairly inexpensive thing to do. And maybe one of the most important things on the list is check all your safety gear for condition. You know, like I alluded to earlier, you know, I'm going to touch on this twice, because it is such an important thing to do, is to make sure you're aware of all your required safety gear. Make sure your safety gear that's on your boat is in good condition. Make sure everyone on the boat, you know, is aware of where all these all the safety gear is stored, in case that is needed. Another thing I would suggest to you is remove all your gear from your boat, and inspect and clean your storage areas. You know, look for cracks or loose hooks or lures that may have been falling in there, and you know, it's just a wonderful time to go ahead and clean those out and get ready for that coming spring. You know, charge your batteries. Make sure that they stay up to speed. You know, put a slow charger on them, or put some you know, solid state control system on them, where you know, it'll charge them every once in a while and keep them up to speed. You know, if your batteries are more than 3 years old, maybe 4 years old, depending on how you use them, it may be time to invest in new batteries as well, so you don't get stranded on the lake. You know, another piece of your safety gear that you should always have in your boat is, you know, if you've got multiple batteries in your boat, have a pair of jumper cables, because in an emergency, that can mean you getting back to the boat ramp or staying out there on the lake and trying to find someone else to help you. So think about that as well. I would really strongly recommend that you check your owner's manual and look up all the factory required or factory selected service that your outboard and boat that they suggest. Lubricate everything they suggest, especially around your outboard, your trailer, your axles, your bearings. Really keep those lubricated. The items we discussed above or earlier are items that really need to be inspected or replaced every year. You know, you can take your boat to your dealer if you're not comfortable doing this, if you're not comfortable performing these checks and maintenance issues. Like I said, many of these items are fairly inexpensive, but they can sure make the difference between you having a really happy day on the water and a not so happy day on the water. So think about that as well. And you know, don't overlook that trailer, folks. You know, we've all seen and been going to the lake or the river or wherever and seen those boat trailers on the side of the road with tires that are broke or suspensions that's broke down. And you know, you don't want to be one of those folks. So pay attention to your trailer as well. You know, check the springs, check the suspensions for wear. You know, it could really turn into a miserable system if you have a breakdown on your trailer, especially. So many people overlook the trailer. They spend a good deal of time on the boat and motor, but for whatever reason, they really overlook the trailer. You know, go put your boat in the water. You know, bring the trailer up and look at the bunk condition, look at the rollers, just look at the overall trailer condition, and fix or repair or replace parts that you even suspect may be damaged. It can really once again, it can really mean the difference between you having a good day on the water and a not so good day on the water. You know, check your winch strap, make sure your winch strap is good, check your tie downs. Make sure they're all in good working condition. It can, you know, check your trailer coupler and your latch assemblies on your hitch. Make sure everything's working really good. You know, if the trailer coupler seems really loose on the ball on your hitch, it could be a sign of a potential problem. So, you know, go have that looked at or fix it. Because you don't want that coming off going down the road. And folks, if you follow some of these guidelines for winterizing your boat that we've talked about, it will pay off big time. And it'll pay off big time next spring when you go to put that boat in the water for the very first time. It's going to save you both time and money getting that boat ready for spring. And that'll bring us to a little tip I'll throw out here for you. I was recently on the water crappie fishing and wanted to throw some tips your way that will hopefully help you put a few more fish in your basket. You know, it's fall here in northeast Oklahoma, and the fish are still feeding up pretty good. And one of the things I'm going to point out here is the line that I particularly like to use as we get into cooler water months. The strikes, especially from crappie, are going to be much less. They're going to be harder and harder to feel on your line and on your rod tip. So what you really need to have that'll help you out tremendously is you need to have a small diameter line that's very limber, that has a good abrasion resistance, and that's highly visible. And this Gamma Polyflex in the panfish line is a line that I really highly recommend, especially in this color as well. It's really visible when you're fishing it. You can detect those lightest strikes that come up when you're you know, fishing that colder water, and it really makes it much easier to see and feel and detect those light strikes. So look these folks up, the Gamma Polyfish Polyline and the panfish. I throw a lot of 4-pound line, 6-pound line when I'm crappie fishing. I'm throwing, you know, 6.5 foot ultralight rod, spinning tackle, and it is just a deadly combination for being able to detect the lightest strike and being able to catch those fish. When you're looking at choice of baits, some of the water I've been fishing the last 2 or 3 days is pretty clear, and one of my great crappie producing baits is the 2 1/4 inch baby shad swimmer made by Bobby Garland. And the two I've got listed here are two of my favorite colors. in the crystal and in the key lime pie. I catch a lot of fish on those 2 colors right there. That 2 1/4 inch is really difficult to beat when that water gets really cold. Sometimes you can go to a 3, 3.5 inch, and sometimes even a 4-inch bait before the water gets really cold, and produce good numbers of bigger fish. But when that water temperature gets much lower, I like that 2, 2 1/4 inch baby shad swimmer that Bobby Garland produces, and these are 2 colors that I have in my tackle box all the time. I carry these 2 colors everywhere. Another color that I like, I didn't have listed here, is the Cajun Cricket. When you're fishing a little more off-colored water, it's got a little orange in it, and it can really produce good numbers of fish as well. So you might give those a try whenever you're next time you're out crappie fishing, and maybe depending on how deep you're fishing, anywhere from a 32nd all the way to an 1/8, 3/16, in some cases even a 1/4 ounce head, depending on the water depth that you're fishing. And they are really good producers. Well, folks, that'll wrap it up for another Thursday night. We hope you enjoyed the show. If there's anything we can do to help you guys out, feel free to drop us a line at justfishoutdoors@justfish.com, and we'll certainly do what we can. If you have a suggestion for a show or a topic, feel free to contact me, and we'll certainly try to put a show together for you, or try to answer some of your questions as well. Once again, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. You can also reach us on my Facebook page, Twitter page. Facebook, once again, is Just Fish Outdoors. That's with the JST, folks. And also, don't forget that Just Fish Outdoors is available for seminars and speaking engagements. If you'd like more information, just drop us a line, and we'll certainly try to answer your questions as well. It's just something that we love to do, and we're just gonna keep doing it. So folks, don't forget, send us an email, tell us how you like the show, or how we can improve on it. If you have a suggestion on a topic, let us know, and we'll try to put a show together for you that'll help you out. And folks, don't forget, Just Fish Outdoors is available to watch and listen anytime on my YouTube channel, Just Fish Outdoors. And that'll pretty much wrap it up for another week. Folks, hope you enjoyed the show, and be sure you catch us next week. And until then, this is Dale York, host of Just Fish Outdoors, saying we'll catch you later.